The judge calls the case. Brown family civil dispute. The words echo through the room, bouncing off polished wood and high ceilings. Kody sits rigid in the front row, fingers interwoven tightly in front of him, trying to project calm. But the tension etched across his face tells another story. Behind him, Robyn clasps her hands so tightly that her knuckles are white. Her posture is stiff, controlled, but her eyes betray a storm of emotions, anxiety, hope, and an almost imperceptible hint of defiance. Christine, ever the strategist, clutches a notebook to her chest, its edges worn from nervous gripping. Her sharp eyes constantly scan the courtroom, calculating, analyzing every twitch of a face, every change in body language. Janelle and Meri sit on opposite sides, the air between them tight with unspoken words and past grievances. The voice of the bailiff cuts through the silence, summoning all to attention. The judge comes in, tall and commanding, with an aura about her that speaks volumes in silence. She doesn't smile. She doesn't waste words. She simply takes a seat, scanning the case file in front of her. The room settles into the kind of quiet that presses on your chest, where every small sound, a cough, a shuffling foot, the click of a pen feels magnified. No ordinary family dispute. This is a clash of personalities, secrets, and loyalties that have been simmering for years. The opening statement is made by Kody's lawyer. His voice is smooth, measured, rehearsed. He speaks of family unity, compromise, and the challenge to balance many relationships under one roof. Kody's attorney paints a picture of a man who is working at maintaining harmony in the confines of a rather complicated family structure. His words come out polished, almost soothing to the ears, though the courtroom doesn't absorb them quite as he would wish. Christine's attorney rises next, her immediate tone cutting and deliberate. She exposes fissures in Kody's story, hints at conflicts ignored for far too long, and suggests that the harmony paraded in public is far from what goes on behind the Brown household doors. Every sentence slices through the air in this courtroom, sharp and precise. The first witnesses are called. First up is Janelle. Her voice shakes, a quiver that reveals the nerves beneath her words. She talks of sleepless nights and whispered arguments in the dead of night, of moments when she felt invisible in a home where she should have mattered. Her hands work at the fabric of her dress, twisting in her lap. She talks of disputes that at the time had seemed insignificant disagreements over schedules, forgotten birthdays, minor financial disputes, and how they mounted, year after year, into mountains of resentment. Each anecdote seems like a small revelation, a look behind the well-crafted public image of this family. Next up is Robyn. She gets up slowly, exhaling as if to release a lifetime of pent-up frustration. Her first words are measured, almost soft, but there's an edge to them, a sharpness that commands attention. Favoritism, being marginalized at times, decisions regarding her children and her household made without her input. These are some of the incidents she mentions. For the first time in these proceedings, when her eyes meet Kody's across the room, his mask of composure cracks ever so slightly. The audience can feel the tension in that gaze. Years of shared history condensed into one brief, piercing look. Christine watches silently, her expression unreadable, knowing the power of Robyn's testimony and waiting for just the right moment to strike. When she finally rises to the stand, her voice is calm, almost icy, deliberate. She outlines discrepancies in Kody's previous statements, producing text messages, emails, and financial records that belie his claims. Every word seems calculated, each sentence aimed at undermining and goading. The courtroom reacts subtly. Some gasp quietly, others lean forward, unable to look away. Evidence piles in. The court is presented with private messages, some months old, some recent, that expose hidden resentments, secret arrangements, and long-nursed grudges. Diary entries emerge, revealing personal thoughts never meant for public eyes, exposing the emotional cost of living in such a complicated family dynamic. Each piece of evidence chips away at the image Kody has sought to maintain, and the air in the courtroom becomes heavy with every passing revelation. Meri takes the stand quietly, almost reluctantly. Her testimony is soft-spoken at first, but it grows more emotional as she recounts moments of heartbreak and disappointment. She talks about moments when she felt silenced, unseen, and unappreciated, moments that, in her mind, defined her relationship within the family. Her voice shakes and tears stream down her face. Kody's jaw tightens. Robyn's grip on her hands loosens slightly, a subtle release of tension. The emotional intensity in the courtroom becomes palpable. It feels like the air itself is charged with fear, frustration, and lingering resentment. And then comes the turning point. Christine rises once more, and this time her movements are sharp, purposeful. She slams a document on the table so that it echoes through the room. Every head turns. The judge raises an eyebrow, leaning forward in the seat, her expression unreadable but clearly intrigued. Kody's eyes widen slightly. Robyn bites her lip, anticipating what's coming next. The room holds its collective breath. The document is full of text messages that show secret discussions, decisions made behind closed doors, and inklings of alliances no one in the courtroom could have imagined. Every line seems to hit a nerve. Christine reads an especially pointed excerpt aloud. The courtroom is silent for a beat too long. You can feel the tension like a physical presence, thick, suffocating, almost unbearable. Even the stenographer pauses for a moment, pen poised over paper, sensing the weight of the revelation. The room is electric now. No one says a word. Every movement is magnified. Kody shifts slightly in his seat for the first time in over an hour, the first real sign of discomfort. Robyn looks back and forth between the document and Kody, trying to gauge his response to understand what this revelation really means. Janelle swallows hard, holding back tears as the magnitude of the situation hits her. Meri's hands are shaking on her lap, and she takes a deep, shaky breath to try to steady herself. Christine's document lies on the table. Its contents are now known to all present in this court. The weight of this moment leans on each person present as if it presses them down. The judge adjusts her glasses and narrows her eyes as she scans line upon line of text messages. Each single message paints a picture of clandestine arrangements, secret decisions, and conversations that obviously contrast with the image Kody has projected for years. The room is silent except for an occasional shuffle of papers or the subtle click of pens preparing attorneys for another move. Kody makes a subconscious lean back, trying to conceal his reaction, but nervous energy causes his fingers to twitch on the armrest. His cool exterior starts to crack under the strain. Robyn's wide, alert eyes stay glued on him. She feels both vindication, the truth is finally coming out, and dread, knowing the repercussions could spill over into everything she has with her family. Janelle and Meri sit opposite each other, quick glances being cast across the table. Unsaid fears and unresolved arguments seem to thicken the air between them. The proceedings continue into the courtroom. Christine's lawyer takes to the floor once more, approaching the jury slowly with determination in his eyes. His voice is calm but authoritative, cutting through the tension. He starts reading selective excerpts aloud from messages, each one more incriminating than the last. References to hidden agreements, promises broken, and decisions made without consulting the wives are brought forth. The text paints a picture of manipulation and control, and one can just feel the walls of secrecy that have kept this family together start to break down. Robyn is called upon to testify again. This time her voice is steady, but raw emotion blazes in her eyes, telling it as it is. She recounts moments where she felt looked over, decisions without her input, and the constant strain of being under an intricate web of family politics. Her recollections are vivid. The smell of the house when arguments ran late into the night, the groan of the stairs as she made her way upstairs, careful not to spark a confrontation, the sharpness in Kody's voice during private disputes. Every little detail adds layers to the story, plunging the courtroom deeper into the personal lives of the family. Christine gets up again, and this time, her tone is icy, but deliberate. She works her way through pointing out discrepancies between what Kody said and what's in front of them all. Every time she does, Kody's face tightens a little, a flicker of discomfort dancing across his features. She produces receipts, photos, and even bits of video snippets showing interactions that none of the wives had fully known existed. Each revelation chipped away at the narrative that Kody had maintained for years. Then, the doors to the courtroom swing open unexpectedly, and one man in plain clothes enters. Murmurings start. This is a former family friend, an insider with intimate knowledge of the Browns' private dealings. He had been called as a surprise witness, and the judge allowed him to take the stand. His testimony was measured, calm, but the content explosive. Financial arrangements hidden from the wives, moments of preferential treatment, and decisions that would later impact the lives of the children in ways no one could have foreseen. Kody tries to interrupt, but one stern glance from the judge quiets him. The room becomes tense again. Everybody is waiting for the next revelation. Robyn's eyes flash with anticipation and fear. She knows more is about to come out. secrets she had only suspected, now being confirmed in front of everyone. Janelle's breathing quickens, and Meri closes her eyes for a brief second, as if to steel herself from the emotional impact. The testimony continues. Events of favoritism, when one household benefited over another by certain decisions, and the concealed emotional cost on wives and children are described. He recounted late-night conversations with Kody when promises were broken and occurrences that left lasting scars on all parties involved. The tension in this courtroom is almost unbearable. Every word cuts like a knife in the fragile relationship that remains. Christine's lawyer seizes the moment to introduce new evidence, a series of emails between Kody and one of the wives discussing arrangements that were never shared with the others. The level of secrecy and manipulation the emails suggest sends a shockwave throughout the courtroom. Robyn's eyes widen as she reads aloud a portion of the emails, her voice barely controlled, revealing the emotional impact of these hidden communications. Reactions from the wives are raw and varied. Christine's satisfaction is written across her face, a slight smirk playing on her lips as she watches Kody struggle. Janelle's face has gone pale, her hands fidgeting nervously in her lap. Meri fights for composure, her chest rising and falling as she fights back tears. The audience can feel the intensity of every reaction. The mixture of fear, betrayal, and anticipation creates an almost tangible tension filling the room. Suddenly, an unexpected twist arises. A previously undisclosed recording is played in court. It captures a private conversation between Kody and a confidant, discussing methods of managing the reactions of his wives and how to maintain control. The recording is incriminating, showing manipulations that no one could have predicted. There is a ripple of gasps throughout the courtroom, and the judge leans forward, her expression now a mix of concern and curiosity. Robyn is called to respond to this recording. Her voice breaks as she describes how such conversations impacted her personally. She describes sleepless nights, the emotional strain of feeling manipulated, and the challenge of protecting her children while navigating the complex dynamics of her family. Her testimony was heartfelt, raw, and compelling. It brought a deeply personal level to the legal proceedings, making it known this case was about much more than money or property. Christine seizes every opportunity to press further. She points out the contradictions in Kody's earlier statements, referencing emails, messages, and testimonies that together paint a picture of a man struggling to maintain control in a situation spiraling beyond his command. The courtroom was tense, every person present holding their breath as the drama unfolds. Even the stenographer seemed to pause slightly, as if to realize the magnitude of what was happening. And then, in the most astonishing moment, he comes out with a bombshell that nobody could have seen coming. Something that could turn this whole case around. The weight of this revelation hits home, and for a few moments, nobody says a word. Kody's face pales as a thick tension fills the space. Robyn, Christine, Janelle, and Meri freeze in shock, putting together the implications of what they had just learned. The judge calls for a brief recess, a time for the courtroom to reassemble. Attorneys confer, whispers fill the air, and the wives retreat into private corners to gather their thoughts. The tension is unrelenting, the emotional stakes higher than ever. The audience is left hanging, wondering what's next, which of the many remaining secrets will come out, and how the Brown family will navigate the fallout. The courtroom doors swing open after the brief recess, and an air of anticipation hangs heavier than before. Everyone knows the next moments could change everything. The judge takes her seat again, her eyes scanning the room, sharp and unyielding. Kody's hands are folded tightly in front of him, knuckles white, while he waits for proceedings to resume. His usual calm has all but vanished, replaced by an almost palpable tension radiating off him in waves. Christine's lawyer rises, moving languidly toward the jury and audience with deliberate grace. She knows the power of pause, and she uses it expertly, letting the silence stretch before delivering her next revelation. She refers to the document Christine revealed before the recess and starts developing additional evidence, a series of financial records, private conversations, and hidden decisions that Kody made over the years. Each bit of evidence shows manipulations and choices he has made, which have affected each wife differently and have caused fractures that have silently been widening for years. Robyn is called again to the stand. This time her voice steady, though the intensity of emotion in her voice is unmistakable. She recalls moments that have left their scars, everyday and practical hardships brought on by secrecy, favoritism, and manipulation. Her stories are vivid, The creaking of stairs during late-night fights, hushed phone calls meant to avoid confrontation, kids overhearing a conversation they shouldn't, silent tension over dinner when every glance shifted alliances. Each anecdote pulls the courtroom further into the Brown family's secret world. Christine rises again, this time with sharper, more deliberate words. She cross-examines Kody with precision, pointing to contradictions in his earlier testimonies and referencing emails and messages he had tried to keep hidden. Her tone was icy, but there was controlled satisfaction in her voice, a recognition that the tide is turning. The courtroom reacts subtly stifled gasps, shifting seats. Even the judge leans forward a little, her curiosity evident as she follows every word. Matters come to a head when a surprise witness enters the courtroom, a former close family friend with intimate knowledge of Kody's private dealings. The entrance is unexpected. A ripple of murmurs spreads across the gallery. The judge allows them to take the stand, and the room instantly grows quieter. The witness begins with measured words, describing events that up until now had been whispered rumors and vague suspicions. They reveal hidden alliances, private agreements, and decisions made without the wives' input that had far-reaching consequences for family daily life. Kody attempts to speak, but the judge silences him with a pointed glance. His frustration is visible. His carefully maintained control is slipping through his fingers. Robyn's eyes flicker between the witness and Kody, a mixture of hope and apprehension. Janelle's breathing quickens, and Meri closes her eyes, bracing herself for the revelations yet to come. Each new piece of testimony is a puzzle piece that adds to the growing picture of a family struggling under secrecy, manipulation, and fractured loyalties. The witness recounts specific incidents where Kody's decisions affected the emotional well-being of the wives and children. They describe moments of favoritism, late-night strategic discussions, and times when Kody's choices created tension and division. The courtroom feels almost suffocating with the weight of these revelations. Every attendee is keenly aware that the family dynamic is being laid bare in a way that no one outside the inner circle could have imagined. Christine's attorney takes the time to introduce another piece of evidence, a previously undisclosed audio recording. It captures a private conversation between Kody and a confidant where he discusses how to manage reactions, stay in control, and navigate everything in the family so that nobody outside would know. The audio plays in the courtroom as if time was standing still. Kody's voice is unmistakable, calm yet strategic, revealing manipulations no one foresaw. The wives are quick to respond. Robyn wide-eyed in disbelief, Janelle with quivering hands, and Meri compressing her lips to hold back her tears. The tension in the courtroom increases. The recording drew a picture of control, secrecy, and emotional manipulation. Every word was a revelation, a glimpse into the carefully guarded strategy that has controlled the Brown family for so many years. The audience is drawn to the drama, unable to look away as each revelation builds on the last. It's very emotional inside. The judge appeared visibly engaged, leaning forward to catch every nuance of the testimony. Then, the plot thickener. The ex-friend proceeds to reveal an even deeper secret, one that implicates more than just Kody. This revelation goes into the long history of conflicts between the wives, themselves moments of betrayal, miscommunications that had never been publicly talked about. The emotional stakes just shoot through the roof. The wives look around at each other. Shock, pain, and incredulity dance across the features of their faces. Kody's mask breaks as all those layers of his decisions and manipulations are exposed right in front of everyone. With this new revelation, the onus is on Robyn to respond. Her voice starts to crack but then stabilizes as she recalls the personal effects of these hidden dynamics. She speaks of sleepless nights, the stress of protecting her children, and the emotional exhaustion from living in a house filled with secrets and tension. The testimony is raw, heartfelt, and deeply personal. Hence, it reverberates beyond the courtroom into the very heart of the Brown family's struggles. Christine seizes every opportunity to press further. She cross-examines Kody with relentless precision, pointing out discrepancies between his statements and the evidence thus far presented. Each question is calculated, well thought out to unravel an image he has managed to keep intact for so many years. The tension in the courtroom is almost unbearable. Each movement, each pause, each expression magnified and felt by all present. Their emotional responses as wives also grow more intense. Janelle's face flushed with anger and unbelief. Meri's eyes tear up with tears she couldn't quite contain. Robyn looking to Kody and then Christine vacillating between hope and fear. It was like the room was just about to erupt into a powder keg of emotions about to blow at any moment, leaving everybody in suspense. The audience, too, was utterly enthralled, their attention held tight by the drama escalating. The section builds up to a climax in which the former friend delivers the final piece of their testimony, a revelation about a hidden alliance that threatens to upend the entire family hierarchy. The courtroom falls silent, the weight of the information settling over everyone like a heavy fog. Kody's face pales. All composure is practically gone. Robyn, Christine, Janelle, and Meri are frozen, trying to process what just came out. The judge calls for a brief recess, signaling that the moment is so intense that it needs to be put on hold. The attorneys huddle together, strategizing and whispering responses. The wives retreat to private corners, each processing the emotional impact in their own way. The audience is left hanging, knowing that what comes next could change the course of the case entirely. The courtroom reconvenes and the tension is palpable. Every person present feels it. The weight of long-held secrets, the strain of betrayal, and the anticipation of truths yet to be revealed. Kody sits at the front, hands grasping onto the edge of the table, knuckles white. His composed facade has been thoroughly eroded. A slight adjustment to the room sends a ripple of unease through him. Robyn's eyes fix sharply on him, vigilant but exposing exhaustion from carrying years of emotional strain. On either side, Janelle and Meri sit tensely, a fidgeting of fingers, the weight of the previous revelations heavy in their shoulders. Christine, as usual, is composed, calculated, and ready to strike with precision. The judge calls the session to order, her tone firm but steady. She waves her hand to proceed and looks at Christine's attorney to continue. Christine gets up, deliberately walking towards the jury and the judge. In a cold voice, she speaks in measured words. She goes back to the documents and recordings that had been revealed earlier and starts pressing on the discrepancies of Kody's previous statements. The courtroom is silent, hanging on every word. Her strategy was crystal clear: tear down Kody's credibility while revealing the depth of emotional scars his choices have brought. Robyn is called again to testify. Her voice this time shakes slightly at first, but her eyes hold an intensity that no words can define. She speaks of late nights with hushed arguments, moments of feeling invisible, and the emotional toll of managing her household under constant pressure. She describes the effect on her children, how they overheard tension, how they sensed the fractures in a family that seemed to outsiders whole. It is raw and vivid, nearly palpable, almost to be felt by the audience. Christine seizes the opportunity to cross-examine Kody. She rises, her gaze nailed on him, unflinching. Each question cuts deep into Kody, attempting to corner him into acknowledging discrepancies in his previous statements and the evidence brought before the court. Kody attempts to respond calmly, but his voice stutters and trips. The courtroom reacts subtly. Gasps, shifting in seats, the tension in the air thickening even. Even the judge leans forward, visibly intrigued by this unfolding drama. Janelle and Meri are next. Their testimonies come in quavering tones, their stories lined with emotional subtlety. Janelle speaks of moments of heartbreak and betrayal, at times feeling so unsupported and unseen, and the toll this has taken navigating a complex household of competing needs. Meri voices her own struggles with trust and isolation, describing the moments when she felt sidelined and unheard. Put together, it is electric. The courtroom feels as if it might burst with the raw emotion. This escalates the tension further. A surprise piece of evidence is introduced, a series of text messages between Kody and one of his wives, showing strategic discussions that were never revealed. The messages spoke of favoritisms, manipulations, and decisions that would affect all of them in ways they could not imagine. The courtroom collectively absorbs the shock. The air was thick with incredulity. Kody's jaw clenches. His heretofore tightly managed control continues to slip. Robyn's eyes widen as she reads a damning excerpt aloud, the impact of the revelation reflected in her emotional delivery. Christine presses on. She replays for Kody's account the audio recordings previously played, which had him answer where his private words conflicted with his testimony. Each confrontation is razor-sharp, deliberate, separated by subtle pauses that allow the weight of each point to settle in. The courtroom is tense. The air practically vibrates with the weight of cumulative revelations. Composure is at an all-time low as a flicker of panic crosses his features. The wives' emotions are raw and unfiltered. Robyn's frustration and hurt surface. Janelle's anger simmers just beneath her measured exterior, and Meri struggles to hold back tears. Christine, in contrast, exudes calm control, using the emotional chaos to her advantage. The audience feels every beat, tension, pain, and the underlying fear their family could fracture completely. And then, out of the blue, comes a stunning turnaround. In walks another surprise witness, one who has been intimately connected with the family for years, yet has remained behind the scenes. His testimony is nothing short of explosive, revealing conflicts and alliances within the Brown family that no one knew existed. This witness exposes moments of betrayal, secret plans, and manipulations that none of the wives had expected. The courtroom reacts instantly. Whispers ripple through the audience, and even the judge leans forward, eyes sharp and focused. Kody tries to interrupt, but the judge silences him with an imposing stare. His frustration is evident. His grip on the story goes further away with every utterance. Robyn, Janelle, and Meri listen in a state of shock and relief, trying to process the stories which have kept them in the dark for so long. Christine remains calm, knowing that with every piece of testimony, Kody's defenses are falling further. The witnesses' revelations continue, every statement peeling layers of secrecy and deception. They detail instances of favoritism, secret deals, and decisions which directly touched on the wives' emotional and practical lives. The audience becomes entangled in the family dynamics, understanding how every single choice would have gravely affected relationships and trust. Each revelation adds fuel to the fire of emotion growing in the courtroom. Robyn is recalled to the stand to confront these new revelations. Her voice, laced with exhaustion and determination, describes how those hidden dynamics affected her daily life, her relationship with Kody, and her role as a mother. Her words are raw, unfiltered, deeply personal, and capture the emotional intensity that defines this courtroom drama. Christine takes full advantage of the opportunity to get more out of Kody. Her questioning cuts through every inconsistency, pointing out moments of manipulation and secrecy. It's a pressure cooker in that courtroom as emotions stew below the surface, about to boil over. As Kody tries to answer, his responses become strained. No longer can he project calmness with an air of authority. Visibly tense and uncomfortable. Then comes the climax of the session. An unexpected recording is introduced, one that captures Kody in a private conversation discussing strategies to manage the wives' reactions and maintain control over the family. The recording is damning, exposing manipulations and revealing motives that had previously only been suspected. The courtroom reacts immediately. Gasps, shifts in posture, and stunned expressions fill the room. Robyn's eyes widen, Janelle's hands tremble, and Meri presses her lips together as tears threaten to fall. Christine, as calm as ever, watches with the satisfaction of one who knows the tide has irrevocably turned. The session ends with the judge calling for another brief recess, the weight of the day's revelations too much for anyone to process in a single sitting. Attorneys huddle, whispering strategies, while wives retreat to private corners to gather themselves. And the tension lingers in the air, an unrelenting reminder of how fragile their family structure has become. The courtroom fills again after the break, and the tension is almost unbearable. Every face shows fear, anticipation, and exhaustion. Kody sits at the front, his posture upright and rigid, his jaw clenched. Each revelation from the previous sessions has chipped away at his composure, and the cracks can now be seen. Robyn's eyes are sharp, alert, and in conflict as hope fights with fear. Janelle and Meri sit tensely, ready for what's to come, while Christine remains calm and measured as always, in a calculated way adding fuel to this growing storm. The judge brings the session to order, and Christine's attorney stands, slowly making her way across the courtroom. Her voice is measured, cutting through the silence like a hot knife. She begins laying out the final pieces of evidence, each carefully selected to reveal the breadth and depth of the hidden tensions, manipulations, and secret arrangements that have gone on inside the Brown family. The evidence stretches over years, showing financial dealings, personal communications, and previously unmentioned agreements, all pointing to decisions that have divided the wives from each other and stretched their loyalty to each other. Robyn is called back onto the stand. Her voice is firm but still reverberates with raw emotion. She describes how it feels to live in a house where secrets and manipulation are incessant. She talks of sleepless nights, whispered fights she overheard behind the doors, and multiple times when she realized that trust, even between her family members, was fragile. Her words are dripping with life as the courtroom is drawn into her experience. The weight of her testimony settles into the audience, the emotional resonance nearly palpable. Christine rises again, her voice calm but razor-sharp, cross-examining Kody with relentless precision. Each question lays open inconsistencies, contradictions, and manipulations which have, until now, passed undetected. Kody's responses are strained. His measured composure is crumbling. Subtle reactions ripple through the courtroom, gasps, shifted postures, whispered exchanges between attorneys. Even the judge leans forward, eyes fixed on every nuance of the confrontation. Janelle and Meri get their turn next. It is an emotional testimony as they highlight personal experiences of betrayal, disappointments, and hurts. Janelle refers to moments when she felt she was always pushed aside and overlooked, where she found herself carrying the emotional load arising from a decision she was never a party to. Meri did speak about feelings of isolation, moments of confusion, and subtle manipulations that had her wondering about her place in the family dynamic. The courtroom listens intently. The emotional resonance is palpable, each word adding depth to the overarching narrative. The big surprise comes in. An email chain between Kody and one of his wives, which had not been previously mentioned, is revealed. Messages of trying to control the narrative, manipulate perceptions, and keep family dynamics under his thumb without transparency are clear. The courtroom collectively gasps. Kody's face tightens, a flash of panic passing briefly across his features. Robyn's eyes widen as she reads out loud the most incriminating messages. Her voice shakes with emotion. Visible satisfaction glows on Christine's face with a slight smirk as she watches the unraveling. In Section 3, the witness, a former friend of the family who was called in, returns to provide further testimony. These words come out calm and deliberate, but with highly explosive content. They declare secret alliances, favoritism, and private discussions that had been carefully shielded from the other wives. The audience feels the tension in the room as the witnesses describe these events in vivid detail. Late-night phone calls, whispered arguments, decisions that shaped the family dynamic in ways few could imagine. Kody struggles to respond, his attempts to explain or justify his actions sharply challenged by Christine's attorney. Every response rings a little more forced. The strain on his composure is beginning to show. Robyn listens, her features a mixture of vindication and sorrow. Janelle and Meri are visibly shaken, wrestling with the emotional impact of these revelations. The courtroom is saturated with tension, each participant acutely aware that the truth is now fully on display. Christine seizes the moment to further cross-examine Kody on discrepancies in his statements versus what has been presented to the court. The pace quickens and the tension builds almost unbearable. All eyes are glued to Kody as he tries to hold on to control, decades of secrecy weighing him down. It reaches a fever pitch in the courtroom when the playback of an unreleased recording is played. It captured Kody speaking about how to manage reactions, tactics of control, and how to protect his public image. The words were damning, evidence of the emotional and strategic manipulation that had shaped the family dynamic for years. Gasps ring out through the room. Robyn's eyes widen. Janelle clasps her hands together tightly, and Meri's lips continue to quiver as she fights to suppress her tears. Christine, always calm, cool, and collected, watches the chaos unfold before her, knowing the tide has finally fully turned in her favor. With every passing minute of the session, the weight of testimonies, documents, and recordings unravels before them, the web of this carefully maintained family structure. Kody attempts to explain, to little avail. Robyn, Janelle, and Meri get emotional. The pain, frustration, and sense of betrayal in their voices echo through the many years that have gone by. The courtroom is a study in raw human emotion, anger, sadness, fear, and defiance intertwined into palpable tension. And here comes the final plot twist from Section 5. Just in time, a witness steps forward. One who has been on the sidelines but holds critical knowledge of past events that no one else could have revealed. Their testimony confirms suspicions, exposes further manipulations, and adds an emotional layer for which none of the participants were prepared. The weight of this revelation momentarily stuns everybody in the room. Kody pales. Even Christine is taken aback by how big it is. This is when Robyn is called to reply. Her voice stronger and firmer now, as she relates how all these hidden dynamics affected her daily life and emotional well-being. It's heartfelt, raw, deeply personal, and surely speaks volumes not just to the courtroom, but to every ear hearing this story, of sleepless nights, emotional exhaustion, and trying to keep hope and stability for her children amidst chaos. The judge goes through the new evidence and testimony with care, asking pointed questions and pressing for clarity where needed. The courtroom is tense, with each person acutely aware that the final judgment may make a fundamental change in the family dynamic. Kody's efforts to salvage control become weaker, with each of his statements met by skepticism and challenge. Robyn, Christine, Janelle, and Meri hold their ground, their testimonies and reactions painting a vivid picture of a family navigating a storm of truth, betrayal, and emotional upheaval. As the session draws to its closure, the judge pauses for a second to let the solemnity of the moment sink in. The wives give each other a glance with looks of exhaustion, relief, and apprehension passing between them. Kody sits in silence, his composure nearly gone, knowing that more than just legal consequences will be decided in the next stages of the case, but also the strength of relationships, trust, and love within the family.